Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank Chairman Henseling and Ms. Waters for their work on this, as well as your own and Vice Chairman Pittenger, and of course our panelists this morning. Thank you for helping the committee with its work. Today's Task Force on Terrorism Financing hearing will examine the dangerous nexus between terrorism, crime, and corruption. This hearing is particularly timely. The Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, identified terrorism and transnational organized crime as among the top 8 global threats to U.S. national security when he testified this past February before the U.S. Senate's Committee on Armed Services. According to Director Clapper, both terrorist and transnational criminal groups thrive in highly insecure regions of the world, with terrorist groups contributing to regional instability and internal conflict, while transnational organized crime groups exploit these environments for financial gain and corruptive influence. One example of this can be found in Venezuela. Earlier this week, the Wall Street Journal reported that the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency and U.S. prosecutors in New York and Miami are investigating the multiple high-level Venezuelan government officials, including Venezuela's National Assembly president, on suspicion they have turned the country into, quote, a global hub for cocaine trafficking and money laundering. The investigations are a response to an explosion in drug trafficking in that oil-rich country, U.S. officials say. I bring up the example of Venezuela because Douglas Farrer's prepared remarks for today's hearing discuss how a bloc of countries led by Venezuela now operate jointly both as a political project with an underlying goal of harming the United States and as a joint criminal enterprise. These countries are creating alliances across the globe with terrorist organizations, including Hezbollah, and the drug trade seems to be a huge source of the revenue propelling this. The U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control previously sanctioned corrupt Venezuelan government officials pursuant to the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act for acting for or on behalf of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, which is the narco-terrorist organization, and that is often in direct support of its narcotics and arms trafficking activities. Furthermore, it's important to note that this crime, terrorism, corruption nexus may not only play out in Venezuela, but in other parts of the world. As reported by the State Department in its April 2014 country reports on terrorism, the tri-border region of South America that the Chairman has just identified is reflective of the interrelationship between criminal activity, terrorism, and financing. According to the report, the tri-border area of Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay continue to be an important regional nexus of arms, narcotics, and human trafficking, counterfeiting, pirated goods, and money laundering, all potential funding sources for terrorist organizations. I hope that this hearing will shed more light on the scope and pervasiveness of such threats. I look forward to hearing the testimony for our witnesses so we can examine these issues and potential solutions further. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your courtesy, and I yield the balance of my time.